Welcome back to the channel, lads. I'm outside, things have been relaxed and we're allowed to go exploring again. So my friend Alex has just bought a camera and it's his first mirrorless camera, so he's where I was maybe 6 months ago. So I'm going over to his house now, he lives just behind, and we're going to go into Hom Kien, the old quarter in Hanoi, with the camera. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to make a video showing you how to nail manual controls on your camera. So let's go find Alex.
You're diving even straight. How you keeping? Yeah.
Not too bad. This is a little bit perilous. Absolutely do not do this at home. So I think I've chosen the worst spot to actually do the first part of this tutorial because the bridge is very, very busy, so I hope you can hear me. So the first part is choosing your frame rate. The frame rate is essentially how many pictures per second your video shows. I choose 24, you can choose whatever you want, but it will affect the next step. Old quarter, mate?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we go back on that bridge? Nah.
This one's more fun.
Yeah, it is.
You know? Alrighty. So, you've set your frame rate, 24 frames a second in my case. Now you need to set your shutter speed. You want your shutter speed to be double what your frame rate is. So in this case, 1/48th of a second, and that creates a nice, buttery, cinematic look. So that is shutter speed and frame rate. Now there's a few other options, because you'll see a problem in a moment. Welcome back home. It started raining, so we had to hurry a little bit. So, steps for nailing exposure. The two steps that are set in stone is your frame rate. I choose 24 frames a second. You can choose whatever is most suitable for what you're trying to do. The second part that is set in stone is your shutter speed. You have to employ the 180-degree rule, which is whatever your frame rate is, you double your shutter speed. My frame rate, 24 frames a second, therefore the shutter speed is 1/48th of a second. So if you imagine for one frame, the shutter is open for half the time. So your frame rate is set, your shutter speed is set, chances are you've done this and now your image is horribly overexposed because there's too much light coming in when that shutter is open. So you have three options now. The first one I'll talk about is ISO. You want, under almost all circumstances, the ISO number to be as low as possible. The higher the ISO number, the more noise or the more grain you'll see in a video. You want to keep the ISO as low as possible, which will help a little bit with the overexposure. The second part you can adjust is your aperture. A good way of looking at it is thinking about the pupil of your eye, the black bit. On a very bright day, the pupil is very small because there's enough light that your eye doesn't need to open all the way. So chances are, to expose your video nicely, you need a very small aperture. But the problem is with that, is you don't get any of the nice background blur that I have at the moment, because you need a wide open aperture for that to happen. But that leads to overexposure. So that is where this nifty little invention comes in. This is a variable ND filter. So you can see, if I twist it, it gets lighter or it gets darker. So you place this on the front of your camera and you can then adjust it to filter the amount of light coming through. So if you want your ISO to be low, you can set that low. If you want your aperture to be wide open, that is with some nice blur in the background, you can use this to then dictate how much light comes through to your camera. So you can have your frame rate set, your shutter speed set, your ISO set, and your aperture set, and still achieve perfect exposure through the use of one of these ND filters. So that is how you nail exposure every single time you go onto manual mode on your camera, which you should be doing for the best results for your videos. I hope you enjoyed this video, hope you found it helpful. I was going to say I hope you enjoyed seeing me out and about in Hanoi as much as I did, but you couldn't have, because I've been inside for 6 months and that was the most time I've spent outside in 6 months. So you won't have enjoyed that as much as me, but that's okay, I enjoyed it loads. If you have any questions about anything I've said, and if I've said anything that is incorrect, which is also very likely, please let me know down below. This is educational for you, but if I've said something wrong, it can become educational for me, and we can share the knowledge. So, thanks for watching everyone. See you again.